Hey everyone, what's up? So we're live again. Let me do a quick sound test. Everything is working. Test. Yes, sounds good. Beep boop, beep boop. Yes. Yes, sounds good here and here. Let's check. Sound test. Is good. So finally back streaming. Excited for that. So this is where we finished our animation so far from Monkey D. Luffy. And today is the goal to clean up a couple more of these key positions, like we started on Friday in the last stream. So we cleaned up this a little bit. Here we can quickly compare this one to this one. So just worked out a little bit the lines, and if I remember correctly, we could also improve here the line weight a little bit, like we did start here, like where things overlapped, and then also try out to fill in colors. But I think before that would be also cool to finish this one cycle. So go over it, clean it up, and then create the other half of the one cycle. So here we have only the first half, where this leg here is coming to the front, and we would have to mirror that the other leg is also coming to the front. That's a little bit the goal for today and the next days. But before that, I'm going to warm up a little bit. So I'm a little bit more into my sketching mode, and I haven't sketched since last Friday. Last Friday was a short stream, but was super fun. Thanks for everyone who joined. Fun streaming session, and I'm excited today to continue it to stream. So just warming up here a little bit, sketching a couple cubes in perspective from different angles, finding a nice rhythm with sketching. And then getting back into animation mode. Excited for that. Excited for that. So, I'm just sketching a couple of things here in perspective to warm up myself a little bit. And also last time we watched a little bit a video from Dangchan how to animate more traditionally, and that was super cool to see. I would love to try out traditional animation at some point. I think it would be super fun. Maybe a little project next to learning 2D animation digitally for the next months, also to try out to do a couple of animations traditionally. I mean, why not? So here I'm sketching couple of shapes in perspective. If you read the book from Scott Robertson, you should be familiar with these kind of shapes and these kind of constructions. If you want to learn to sketch in perspective, these kinds of constructions here are super helpful to develop a feeling on how to sketch in perspective. So you learn how to create volumes and also organic shapes and construct them properly in perspective. That takes a little bit of work and patience to learn that, but you get really a good solid understanding on how shapes behave in perspective. That's super helpful. And then you can sketch these shapes a little bit more freely if you're learning that. Desai Ed is again here. Super cool that you're joining. Hello. Yeah, just mentioned that Friday was a fun stream. And after warming up, I'm going to continue with 2D animation to finish more animation of Monkey D. Luffy. And here I'm just scribbling a couple of volumes. Not sure if you tried it out to sketch these kind of volumes. If not, and you want to get a better understanding on how it is to sketch in perspective, check out the book How to Draw from Scott Robertson. That's super helpful, and you get a solid understanding on how to sketch volume in perspective. And from that, you can then, just feel more freely while sketching. If you know, for example, this would be a circle sketched in perspective, constructed. And if you know how planes behave in perspective, it's also more easy if you want to create scenes with 2D animation, if you know, if you have a good understanding. For example, want to mirror this shape here in perspective, can do it. Now it's a little bit rough, but by sketching through this from this diagonal corner through the middle, and you have sketched and mirrored that in perspective, especially if you're close to the vanishing point at the horizon, then to know that how to do that can be handy. And to practice it a little bit with these constructions, and then you can do it more and more. The more confident you are, and the more you practice to sketch in perspective with construction lines, then you can do it more freely just feel it out a little bit. And in the end, you need perspective everywhere. Also, for example, here, if you want to sketch a head, then to know also the basics of perspective is also super helpful. So you know how to construct the human figure in perspective and know where to place things. And if you're super confident then and you practice this a lot, you don't need the construction lines anymore. You know, you see it or feel them out because you just did it so many times, and then you can sketch like that more freely in perspective. Cool. So I would say that's it for warming up. Now let's get back into the animation. Excited for that. So where did we left off? So this is the animation where we are. And here's the reference. Let me position it again so you can see it good. I hope it's okay. Maybe a little bit to the left, so I have a little bit more space on my canvas for sketching. I would say like that is okay. So let's get into it. Excited to finalize this more. Already learned a lot from it. And let's see what can we learn more from it. So, and this was the last one. We finished a little bit more. Just went over the line work. Added a little bit more details. And yeah, we could then also increase the line rate. But I think before that, I will block in some colors. But let's see. I would say I first will do a couple more of cleanups. So to do that, I'm going here and reduce the opacity again, like that. So in a new animation cell on top, I can go over it and just have an easier time cleaning it up. So let's do the next one. And that's also when animation gets a little bit more yeah, things take a little bit more long, but that's okay. So let's see. There's always the first strokes you make. You feel a little bit rusty. So when I press C, just a shortcut, I see the drawings I did before, just sometimes to reference a little bit how I cleaned up the other drawing. And now let's just enjoy the process. And I don't know how it's for you, but I wonder when, also when cleaning up shapes, when am I using straight lines and when am I using more rounded lines? And I feel like you get a better result when sketching more with straight lines. But this would be also a fun session to study different kind of artists and how they place their strokes and lines to learn a little bit from it. Also maybe in the animation industry, how are people sketching, and also maybe observe how their roughs look in comparison to their final line work. Would be also something super interesting to see, and I think a lot to learn from. And also something I realized, that it's helpful to not, now I'm going over these lines, to not only focus on line quality and that you're just cleaning up your lines, but also to still improve the shapes you've sketched. So I'm analyzing the shapes here and see in comparison to mine, what can I improve, what can I learn from the shapes sketched there, and yeah, just have that study focus. So it's also study, it's not about that this animation here looks perfect or great. Focus is really learning and see how to improve the 2D animation skills and not to create an animation that looks perfect, because the perfect animation was already made with a lot of love, I think, and that's why we also study and like it so much, because there are amazing animators who did this. So let's see how we can improve this shape here. It's also cool to see how you have this line work here only a little bit indicated here, and here have you a little bit more stronger line work. But the wheel, I already mentioned the last time, the wheel readability, the real good readability in this animation, I think, comes of course of great shapes. It's sketched amazing, but also from the colors. And I like how, especially look how small this part of the arm is. So here it's the proportions are also pushed more. And not, I mean, it's an anime, it's an animation, so we don't expect realism. But you have scenes in One Piece where things are animated a little bit more consistent in terms of proportion, and here we have it a little bit more that it's breaking. But I like it. I like that they take the freedom to do that, especially when supporting the feeling of the animation. And something we can, make note of and learn from. That we can push proportions depending on where the character, in which direction the character is moving, or if we want to express the character of the character. Yeah, just confused myself, but I think to take that freedom and liberty is a good thing. I mean, that's also the beautiful thing of animation. And also to go over these lines here. In the beginning, it's a little bit more. You have to concentrate, but then for me, I feel like I get almost like in a Zen mode, where I'm super chilled and just enjoying this process here. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know in the chat. From last session, there was still a question open with extremes. I didn't have the chance yet to search it up, but I'm sure I just have a quick look. There's a good explanations on it in the Animator Survival Kit. But something still where I also have to look up. So also this here doesn't have to be perfect. Let's look quickly. I think looks almost head is too small, but also the reference is pretty small. But I mean, let's make it a little bit bigger. We have this tool here when working digitally to do that. So, and we forgot also to add the eyes, of course. You could say they're important. And of course, they are also important. So, like that. It's also fun. So, when watching it, you're only seeing the animation from a distance like that, and I'm now working in more zoomed in a little bit. But I mean, at this scale, you think, oh my god, what's that face? Why is it looking so ugly? But if you zoomed out, it's okay. So it's also a thing from how far away the character you're watching it, how far away, and the more far away, the less detail you want to add, because you didn't see them anyway. But that's also something, especially when working digitally, to think of about or to have an eye on. So don't zoom too much in when clean up your lines. But yeah, in the end, try out what's working good for you and then stick to that. But just a little reminder. You may have similar experiences, but it's also something you can, after your first pass cleaning up, you can also go over it. The second one. So here now the character's moving down. And after this one piece animation here, I think I will do a couple more of exercises or studies and from the Animator's Survival Kit because there isn't so much content anymore in there. I haven't explored yet. So to go more through that, I think would be also nice. And then something where I'm super excited about is there are a lot of examples from the site. That's amazing to learn animation. I love that. But to go also then in perspective with the running characters, or also with a One Piece character, or from another animated show, and practice more how to sketch characters moving in perspective, running in perspective, is something I want to tackle after going more through the Animator Survival Kit. Can't wait for that. Especially because I have so much fun sketching in perspective, and to see how we can work sketching a characters in different perspective systems. Is it harder to sketch a character in 3-point perspective, or 2-point perspective, or even 5-point perspective? I think these would be fun things. And then look also at workflows for maybe animation studios like Toei Animation and see how they work with perspective and also camera angles. I mean, here's even a scene where we have a different, like here we have a different camera angle, and also this camera angle here. Super excited to see, and to see there how the character are moving here and walking. To practice these kind of things, I think it's an amazing practice. And then move the camera around and sketch the same character but from different perspective. I think this will be great practice to level up the animation skills before then maybe get more into acting of 2D animation or also action scenes. That's also something I'm super excited about. But I like, especially when learning a new craft, to take the time and get a good understanding of the fundamentals. Especially also I feel in animation, because you need, in so many cases, you need the fundamentals into the animation. And I think in so many scenes, there are characters just walking. You need to animate, and to be confident with that, I think, is a great thing. Is also similar. For years now, I practiced how to sketch in perspective, and now in animation, that skill is helping so much to be confident there. And yeah, always take time to learn fundamentals. Also, if I think, especially for perspective drawing, I'm not sure if you made similar experiences, but perspective drawing, or to learn perspective drawing, can be so frustrating in the beginning. Or also the first lessons in school with perspective drawing were just a nightmare. I have to say that. But if you stick to it and push through the first boring perspective exercises, it gets more fun and fun. You start to see the whole world differently, and then at some point it's like, with your pen on paper, it's like you're in a 3D program. So that's super fun then at some point. So not sure if I'm 100% happy here with the proportions. I feel like the bottom part is a little bit too short. I mean, for one, I would make it a little bit bigger. Maybe like that. And also the angle of the foot. think I have to work on that. Maybe we can also trick here a little bit. Or just let's do it again. I mean, for practice sake, I think that's okay. And also this part here is too big. The proportions don't look so good. Maybe just like, no, that's not working. I think that's a little bit better. See? And I feel like this angle here is crucial, that it's going up a little bit, and you have that foot a little bit angled towards the camera, so in that direction, and then it's not flat to the side. You understand what I mean? So this would be an arrow in perspective, and this two-dimensional. So let's try it again. Do it simply just to see if we can get it correct. And then it's a little bit curved here. Or let's first do that side here. And that's also thing, sometimes things can get a little bit tricky. And then just try out different things. And then see if you can get step by step a better result. And also sometimes if you say, oh, I don't get the right result, I'm looking for, just take a break, continue somewhere else, and then get back to it. I think that's a little bit better already. This goes over here. This goes over here. Yes, looks already a little bit better. So, KFC Fan 1, so first wonderful name, is asking how long does it take you to animate? So that depends on what I'm animating. For this animation, so I'm doing this One Piece study for the first time. I think I would have to check the last streams, but I mean, we could quickly watch this one. I reduced the opacity a little bit. So this was the first rough pass. And I think for this one, it took maybe in total 2 to 3 hours. Maybe less. Something like that. I think a little bit less. But yeah, and also with streaming, with talking, with explaining, it takes a little bit longer if you're only focused on doing that, and you can be a little bit more faster, but something like that for the first one. And now for going over it, let's see how long it will take. And then it depends on the animation and your goal. If you only want to create or see if you can sketch a rough animation that is working good, you can do it in 1 hour. You can also always do improvements that can also take, yeah, also hours, but depends. But you can also create more simple animations. I mean, we did this with these simple walks here, and these are way more faster. So these basic animations you can do within 15 to 30 minutes to see or to learn how a character is running. And then if you're really sketching a character and get more into details, then animation takes way more longer. I hope that makes sense. If you want to go more specific or have a more specific answer, just let me know. So, let's continue. So this was the first one, this was the second one. I feel like we have a little, with the proportions, we have a little bit of problems here. Let's see if we also have it in this one. I feel like here it's solved a little bit better. Let me check. So for example, let's see if we can fix it quickly. For example, this foot here is a little bit too small. That's better. Yeah. And also like here, I feel like the arm is a little bit, but it's also, I think they sketch it that way to emphasize that Gum Gum root character from Luffy. And I would quickly just to go over a little bit of over the lines, not much, just a little bit, and increase a little bit the line weight. And then let's see if I'm happy with it later or if we're going again over it. But I'm definitely excited to see how it will look like when we block in some colors. And I'm also going to close a couple of lines here, just to increase the readability. I think that helps already. To have a little bit more solid line work here. And also line work study. If C-fans says it looks great, yeah, thank you. And also something super interesting to see if we're thinking about line weight and how strong we want to make lines. Especially in this opening here, there was one scene where the line weight is super strong. Let me see if I can find that scene quickly. So that's also cool to see. Maybe it's here, yeah. Here you can see. The animation still looks amazing, while the character is running, but the line weight here is so thick. You see these black lines, it's, I would say, kind for itself, or it's like an special animation style, but that's also something to try out, that you can also sometimes increase the line weight here to make also the readability a little bit more easy. Yeah, just something I wanted to mention when we're talking about line weight. So let's get back into the scene. So even in one opening, there can be variations with line weight. So let me again position it in a way you can see it clearly. So I will adjust it again in a second, the screen, but now go over here again and clean up a couple more of lines. And I would say I will continue to do it in a second. So I'm not 100% happy with this foot here, but I think it's okay for now. Let's go over the next one. And again here, decrease the opacity a little bit. And then we can go over it and create the next one. And this one I will use just the onion skin because the head is at the same place where the other drawing was before. So we can go just over it. Quickly check. Okay, I made a mistake. This is one. Then we have frame 2. I'm looking here at this timeline. And this is frame number 3. Yeah. So this is the next one we want to sketch. So again, happy that I realized it now and not too late. Now we're going over this one. So I hope you can see it here in the reference. I thought the opening had 3D and 2D art. Yeah, I think there's also the ship a lot of times in the openings is in 3D, and or the parts of the backgrounds are also in 3D, and characters a lot of the time are animated in 2D, but it's a mix. You can see it pretty often what's in 2D and what's in 3D. And it's a great point because later I wanted to watch a video on someone who created scenes from Ghibli in Blender in 3D. So that's a wonderful topic. I also am super curious about to how 3D is developing and more looking like also 2D animation. But of course, I think 2D animation always has its own charm, but also 3D. They're different, but they can complement each other really well. So let's go over the next one. We have a reference there. And also something fun to see. Like here the line word is a little bit more rough than in the ones we saw before, even if it's the final opening. But in the end, we're now spending so much time with each keyframe here, in the end you see it only just a couple of frames you see one key drawing or even one frame. So yeah, it's of course important to take the time to bring it a good finished state, but also I think realizing that it's not too many frames visible is also important to consider that in the animation. So let's see if we can speed up this process here a little bit by going over the next frames. And don't focus now to do it perfectly. Again, it's more animation study. The key thing is really more to learn how this character is moving, and I think that's the best thing. We already saw that in the first rough phase, where we learned a lot about this character or about this animation. And now it's a little experiment or practice how we can translate that rough phase to a more finalized stage. But the main focus is really the animation right now. And then again in the future, when creating own characters, creating a short film, for example, then of course it's super important also to take time to clean up things, all those kind of things. But when doing studies, I think it's helpful to set a clear focus and not studying everything at the same time. Maybe 1, 2, 3 things, and then maybe coming back to it with a different focus in the future. I think that's in the long run more beneficial also time-wise. And something also, maybe you noticed this, like in cinema, we see a lot directors using compositions or scenes from directors in the past they admire. And I'm curious, something I also wanted to research, and maybe you've noticed it so far. There are animation directors or animators who also do that. Who are paying like a homage to directors from the past or animators. Something also fun to have an eye on in the future. Or also how to learn from other animators. So that's also something I like. Of course, it's important to learn all these kind of fundamentals, but to, like you say, you don't have to invent the wheel. If other amazing people established fundamentals, workflows on animation, so to be always open and learn from them, I think it's a good thing to get on a better level with your skills or your animation skills or drawing. So this one now gets a little bit faster. Activating the quick mode. Also something you consider is that here in the reference, the plane the character's running has a little tilt, an angle, and here we're doing it more on a straight almost. So just something to consider. So we're not 100% there where the reference is, but that's also okay. So no sketching here. The leg and the foot. So welcome Zumba Die Hard. I like all your names. Super creative. And Zumba Die Hard is writing you teaching people. And yeah, thank you first for your comment. And yeah, for me it's just a passion, something I love to do in my free time next to my full-time job. And yeah, just sharing what I'm learning so we can learn together a little bit and do more and more a deep dive into 2D animation and have a little exchange, a chat, can ask me anything. Yeah. So this is the next one. I think this one was way more quick than the one before, but that's also because we get a little bit more warmed up. So it gets easier when, so the first ones, oh, you always be a little bit more rusty, but then at some point it gets easier. So again, going over it a little bit here, closing some lines. And then also something I want to do in the future to look at a couple of workflows, how to finish these lines into the animation. So I know I did it once. There's a tutorial from Dongchang in the animation industry where he's finishing the lines with the line tool. So he's not sketching them, but using actually the line tool, and that's super interesting. Also a workflow that can be super helpful. Okay. So we also have this one. What's missing? The shapes here in the middle. But then we can go to the next one. You can see them only barely here. I would add them like this, maybe like this. Yeah, not perfect, but okay. So let's get to the next one. This one here. And here we have a little bit of smears implemented. So that's interesting to see. And the time is flying today again. We're already 50 minutes in, 51 minutes. So there you can see when creating more complex characters, it also starts to take a little bit more time to finish these animations here. So I will do this one now, and then I will do a little break, about 5 minutes, maximum 10. And then we come back to it to finish it. I think the best case for today would to finish these first more cleans up here, and then create the next key drawings, the next half of the one cycle, to make a little bit more progress today. So tomorrow maybe we can finish the line drawing of the one cycle, and then maybe, let's see, on Wednesday go into colors, but not sure yet. Let's see how long things will take. Also a cool thing we can learn here is just the animation of the hairs. Like the more the character is moving to the front, the more the hairs are going a little bit to the back. That's also interesting to see. So also I realized I've zoomed too far in. Something to fix. Now sketching the arm here. like that. And yeah, I feel like these kind of studies are super fun. Super fun time, just enjoying and relaxing a little bit. I feel also I'm a little bit too stiff with my line work. And yeah, just trying to enjoy the process here, having a good time and enjoying 2D animation when we can, when we have the time to, if we find the time to do it. So, and that's also the cool thing now. I have to see, it's a little bit experiment that now the second week where I try to stream 5 days a week from Monday to Friday. Let's see if it's too intense or too many hours. But the more I'm doing it, the more I enjoy the process and just finding the time to enjoy 2D animation and answer your questions and yeah, grow together in the animation journey. So here, let's see how those lines look like that. Mylan2 is writing first, thank you for joining. Happy to see you. Hello room, I'm also animating a run cycle for a commission project. It's so interesting making a stylistic cadence. Yeah, it's cool. Sounds like a cool project. And also, yeah, I wish you the best for it. Maybe if you have the chance and it's uploaded, send me it on Instagram. Would love to see it. And yeah, I think animated one cycles are super fun. In the beginning, they feel like a little bit, I would say, there's too much structure to it because you, of course, have to follow some crucial steps like implementing to some degree a down pose, a up position, all those kind of things. So it feels not so free maybe in comparison to other things where you can just animate frame by frame. But if you are open to the process and give it the time it needs, I think it's wonderful and super fun to animate one and walk cycles. And I feel also to learn it can be a little bit hard at the beginning. But yeah, maybe if you can share your experiences, if you have an easy time doing these animated cycles, or if there's something you're struggling with. So here it's interesting, in this animation, you have a little bit kind of smears, and it's a little bit, so the animation here, we get a little bit from that background, almost in that foreground. That's interesting to see, that in the other frames, we don't have that so strong, but only in this one. There's also the question, is that on purpose, or did just the time went out for the animator? I think the smears on purpose, of course, but maybe some lines that are missing here, I'm not sure that's on purpose or not. But anyway, something interesting to observe. And also almost something, or only something, you see when you go frame by frame through it. So I'm adding also here to some degree some smears. Not exactly like we see in the reference, but I think with smears there's no point to do it exactly like in the reference. I think the direction to keep that is important. But other than that, we can a little bit be creative with it. So now we're sketching here the head. So cool. Something we missed, maybe here. The arm. You can see it barely here in the background. And I think this looks also okay. Let's toggle this one off. Yeah. Looks fun. Coming more together now. Also the smear, I like it in a way. Not sure how you're seeing it, but it gives it a little bit more loose feeling. And also when playing more faster, it's so fast, even faster than that. Cool. And also how the head is flying here. I love how it's dragged more closely to the character and then away again. Also something to take in consideration for future projects. And if played like that, you could almost say, okay, it's finished. It's fun, like if we're playing so fast, we don't even see which leg is in the front and which leg is in the back. We see it a little bit more with the arms, that it's always the same arm that's going to the front. But yeah, interesting. Cool. So the next one would be this one. I think 2 more to go. Yeah, 2 more. So I will do a quick break and then I'm back to it to finish the last 2 and then hopefully also to start to create the first one that's mirrored to finish the second half of the one cycle. There we have to get a little bit creative because we will have no like reference, but in the end it's just mirrored. The one arm that is in front now will be on the other side and so on. If you followed a little bit the things I've done in the last month and weeks, you know what I'm talking about, or like Melan, if you're also animating yourself, you know that process. But I think it will be fun to see at the end how the character will look like if we have a full one cycle. Super cool. See you in a second. Maximum 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. And yeah, already excited to continue in a couple of minutes. See you and thank you for watching so far. And we're back again. Just a quick break. I think it was even under 5 minutes. I'm not sure. Time is flying. So I hope you can hear me. I think so. Let me do a quick test. If the sound is okay. Test. Yes, sounds good. If not, let me know. Okay, let's get back into it. Into the animation. Cool. Thank you, Maylan. So, where did we stop? So now this one. And sometimes you just also have to take the time and enjoy just the animation. Yes, of course, there's so much to learn, but it's just fun to animate and see a character running, especially Monkey D. Luffy. So let's appreciate that just for a second. And then we get back into concentration mode and sketch out the next pose here. So let's get into it. Let's see, maybe also at some point what my longest streaming session will be. How many hours maybe I can sketch or animate in one session. Sometimes I see these live streams from super experienced animators and they're animating like 4-5 hours in a row. And that feels also crazy. Didn't do that yet. But who knows, maybe in the future? If you have a good flow, why not? So let's sketch in these lines here. Also, I think I will have to adjust a little bit here, this line. I don't know. What's your longest animating session was in one row? But, I mean, it's not a competition. Who animates the longest? And maybe there's even a world record. For all those world records out there, maybe you also have one, a 2D animation. But it doesn't sound so healthy, to be honest. And also sometimes you hear from the animation industry that it can also be rough and not only fun. So let's take care of ourselves, and if we need breaks, we should take the breaks. So I'm also curious with all those AI videos if people now who are younger don't even start to learn, for example, animation, because they think, okay, why even try bothering with it? Of many reasons. Because maybe it's more difficult to get a job with it in the future, or because to learn the fundamentals is a longer journey, and you can just type in a prompt and get a certain style. That's also interesting. Mailan is writing, if I'm working on an animation that has multiple scenes, I will jump around and animate different scenes if I need a break from one. Ooh, that sounds amazing. Yeah, great tip. Love that. Love that. I also know that from my full-time job. So I'm working full-time as an art director. It's different than an art director in the animation or gaming industry. It's more in the advertising industry. So I'm doing more graphic design and cutting videos, producing reels for social media for different kind of brands and so on. And there, if I feel stuck in a project or I just need something else, something fresh, I also change just the project. That's always a great thing to do. But especially for 2D animation where scenes can get really long to work or animate on one scene, to change the focus or the scene is an amazing tip. Thank you, Malin, for that. So let's do this line here. And this line here. The body seems a little bit too compressed just in terms of proportions. So I will make this space here a little bit bigger and also the body here a little bit thicker. Yeah, a little bit better. And also something that could be really fun. I'm not sure how much you're into the story from One Piece, and without doing any spoilers here, but there is a moment in the anime, where the animation style changes a lot and gets a little bit more. It's a little bit more mixed from Japanese animation style and Western animation style. If you have watched it, you know from what I'm talking about. So here, I'm in episode 700, so that's good that I'm not doing any spoilers. But I mean, if you're also watching the first episodes from One Piece and the last ones, even in every arc, the animation style changes. And to do a couple of studies of these different changes, especially of these couple of moments I'm talking about, would be also interesting. So the head goes there. Need a little bit more space here. Where's that line for the neck? And now this comes up here, going up here like that. And also show, I'm not sure if you have watched it, Blue Eye Samurai. I think it's almost everything is done in 3D. And that was also, like, sometimes if the whole show is made in 3D, sometimes it can feel a little bit weird, the animation, and not so cohesive, not so good. Or I don't like it also, of course. Everyone see it differently. But in Blue Eye Samurai, I felt one of the few shows where everything was in 3D, and I really loved that style. It was amazing. And I think everything was in 3D. Not 100% sure. But also something we could check out in the future. So let me bring the reference a little bit more there. And also, KFC fan, if you're in 700, you have episode 700, you have a lot of great moments ahead of you in the anime. I also made normally I'm reading the manga or the chapters that are coming out every week. But right now I'm doing a little break and I'm so excited to see what's happening. There are many episodes here, over 1,000 episodes. So it's a long journey if you want to watch everything, but if you haven't started yet, there's coming a completely new animated version from One Piece from a new studio, and I think it's a really good studio that is producing it. I think the animators from another animated show that is animated on the highest level in Japanese animation, almost you can animate things, and that series will be way shorter. So you can also watch this one, will be on Netflix. If you say, okay, 1,000 episodes maybe, that's too long for me. But other than that, I can highly recommend it to everyone to watch it. It's a lovely story. Okay, so let's add a line here. Add a line here. Let's again close some lines here. And this is the next one. So this is where we are. From a far away, I think it looks okay. Of course, then line work would be a great thing, or again, colors to increase the readability. But it looks fun. So one more to go. Let's get into it. And yeah, while we're talking about One Piece, also get more and more. Now I want to watch it. So. And also, yeah, KFC fan is writing very bouncy. Yeah, I like that up and down movement. Looks fun. And that's also the thing if we want to maybe animate a couple more of realistic characters in the future, then I think we have to be a little bit more careful with that up and down movement. But for this character, I think it's fitting really good, and yeah, it's perfect fit for the style. So here we see a little bit of that line. Also something, I think it's a little bit more younger people, but also for everyone. The real animated show from One Piece on Netflix could be also something you could watch. Not sure if every one of you have watched it. There are different, I find it super interesting. There are different opinions on it. But I felt like a lot of kids loved it. So for me, I find that's a good sign. I mean, that's also a lot of times the case. But yeah, for me, I find it okay. It had good moments that were just okay. Over in general, I think you could watch it. But then sometimes I feel like, why even do a real life version from an animated show if there's an animated show that is perfect or great or amazing? Yeah, That's just sometimes the thing. Of course, in the end, probably it's a money thing. But if more people can enjoy One Piece, I think I'm happy with it. So I also, something I don't think I mentioned that for the first rough haze, I'm not sure how it's for you, but I use this brush here, that it feels a little bit more like a pencil if you're sketching traditionally with pen on paper. And then when cleaning up, I'm using this one. It is a little bit more smooth, more precise. You can do more precise lines with it. Yeah. And KC fan as well. Netflix just needs more shows. Yeah. You could say, okay, there are already so many shows, but I think that's their main revenue point, that if they stop producing shows, people will leave the platform. So they always need to come up with something new. It's a good point. Mail and Tooth writing. I use Procreate Dreams to animate. It has similar brush that I use for my rough pass. That's cool. Also, I downloaded Procreate Dreams on my iPad already. I animated more just in the normal Procreate version. I would also love to animate simple things in there, but I haven't find the time yet to animate in Procreate Dreams, but I have a live stream open from Aaron Blaze where he's animating in Procreate Dreams, and I wanted to see if how the workflow first is just looking to animate in Procreate Dreams. And yeah, it's a really beautiful program. That's amazing to hear. That's motivating me to even try it out in the near future, and maybe then also stream from it here live and see what we could do in there. I feel like it also has some possibilities similar to After Effects to set in keyframes. So you can, for example, if you want to move clouds from point A to B, you can let them move with keyframes from A to B without drawing them frame by frame. I think these possibilities, you have them also in Procreate Dreams, but sounds cool that you like it. I think I will try it out in the near future. But also Clip Studio Paint, I feel like, is an amazing program to animate in. But yeah, there's so many cool programs, animation programs. Also Blender is something I want to try out to animate in. I did some 3D stuff in the past, and the animation features could be also cool, and then also mix 2D animation with 3D animation. So we're sketching the hand here. See what we missed. Cool. Looks good for now, I would say. And now let's do the second half of the one cycle. We have the information we need for the first half. Now let's do the second half. Again, let's close some lines here for better readability for now. Cool. Mylan is right. My cat Zuko is watching the stream with me and his head is following your cursor. That's super funny. So I'm happy that your cat is having a good time. But let's hope that the cat is not getting too tired from it and too sleepy. But maybe the cat then will have a good night. And maybe in the unconscious, the cat is also learning how to animate. I think that would surprise you, that someday you come into your room and you see your cat animating. Would be also a little bit scary, to be honest, but also fun. So now super cool to see this character running. We need this pose here, but mirrored. And we need this pose mirrored, this pose mirrored, this pose mirrored, and this pose mirrored. Okay, I would say, which one do we create? First, the passing position? I would say so. I mean, just for now making my life a little bit more easy. I will only add these lines here. Just to help me, especially then when creating more mirrored versions, to see more quickly what's in front and what's behind the body. You don't have to do that. Just more for myself to don't get confused. So I'm only adding a couple of shadow lines, you could say. It's not about the look right now, more about seeing more quickly what's in front and what's behind, so we can now mirror it more easily. So let's do this one. And we will start with this one. I will start with this one. Okay. Let's see how I'm going to do it. I will just go here in front, now move it back in a second. I could also duplicate the layer and push it then to the front. But yeah, there's no really right or wrong way. And something maybe you wondered, I turned off the onion skin to see the next frame, I think. Yeah, I only see the previous frame. So this can be also sometimes come in handy when animating. So to activate the onion skin only for one direction, to see a little bit more clearly what's happening. So now we want, so with the arms, we can let everything be as it is. Also the head, of course we could refine it, but we also keep it like that. Maybe close the lines a little bit better than we did in our first attempt. So the arms can stay like that almost. We check in a second if it's okay. Also go to it quickly to double check if we need to watch it again. And now this leg here is in front. And now here we have to get a little bit creative, just in terms of the proportions. And see how we can create it so it's looking good. I would even change the angle a little bit. So maybe make it like that. Maybe do it even roughly for now. Maybe like that. Maybe that's the angle, just trying to find the angle. I want to animate it. And I think I'm going to stick an angle like that. But that's now where the fun thing starts, and also where we can learn a lot. So we have all the informations from the character we have, and now it's about finding a way to stick to the proportions and also make the movement believable. I think that's okay. And it's okay again also to be rough here. Maybe like that. And now this part here can stay like this. And also interesting thing to see in a walk cycle, if we are sketching first the first half of the one and then the second one, we want to stay more or less, depends also on the walk. But in a normal cycle, we sketch the first half of that walk cycle almost similar to the second one almost similar to the first one, but in one cycle, that's also natural. If you're running super fast, the body tends also to have a little bit of changes in the movement, and that it's not 100% consistently. Depends also who's running. If you looking at an Olympic athlete, maybe those kind of persons, that one is a little bit more consistent because they practice the technique of running. But for a normal person running, you could add a little bit more variations in the poses, also in a cycle, to make it look a little bit more natural. So now this leg here is forward, like that. Let's keep it rough for now, and then first finishing this second half of the cycle, and then also going over the parts that need to be cleaned up. So just finishing these lines here. Don't pay too much attention for now to make them perfect. First, the focus is on getting that second half, this one cycle working. So this was the previous one, and now we switch the leg, what is in front and what is behind the body. Okay, cool. So we can now again position this one here back. Now we have here the passing position. And now let's add the second one here. So at the end I can time it out here again like I want. But now, for now, let's take the freedom. So I'm going over at this one, and now again also mirroring the legs and the arms. And also we're live already, 1 hour 42 minutes. Also so crazy to see how the time is flying. And now you get also, you're animating and start to animate characters with more different features. You start to understand. By example, Studio Ghibli, they're animating years to finishing a movie. There's a lot of animators because these animations take time. It takes time and you have to be patient. Of course, if you're more experienced, you can get faster, but still, I mean, also with more experience, a lot of animators also making the animations more complex. So in the Ghibli scenes in the background, so many things are moving, so many characters at the same time are animated. That's super fascinating to see. And then to make these scenes so alive. These scenes take a lot of time. KFC Fan 1 is writing, have you ever seen a JoJo opening? I think you mean the anime show, JoJo Bizarre Adventure, I think it's called, something like that. And I've seen scenes from it, and it looks also super crazy. I haven't watched the anime yet. I still want to watch it. I think it's super funny, if I'm right, and also animated really good. But yeah, maybe I can do also a study in the future from it. You can recommend it. And the animation style, that's also something I like. I think it's pretty unique in comparison to other animated shows. That's also always cool. I'm not sure if it's based on a manga. That would be, it's also cool to see how the manga looks like and then how the animated show looks like. But yeah. So before think that's also if Steve as well, yeah, it's based on a manga. Oh, that's cool. So I definitely also have to check out the manga. And now here the animation, we now have to make that arm here be in the front and that arm here being in the back. So we have to see how we're doing anatomy wise and also with the body. I'm just thinking that I have to. That's where we get a little bit rough again now. So I think that shoulder have to be here somewhere. Maybe the shapes like that. Then we have here the opening of the body, like that. Now we have here the back side. Maybe like that. And then we have the arm here going down. But that arm is behind the body. And that arm now is in front. So I hope if you have a question, let me know. It's not too confusing, but that's always also why it's so helpful to practice these ones with simple characters to get used a little bit to mirror in the second half of the walk or run cycle the arm and the legs, because when then doing it with a little bit more complex characters, and also if the character has clothing on and so on and is more complex, things get a little bit more confusing. But in this case here, for example, for the leg, seems to be a little bit more easy because we just have to sketch this line through, and that's almost enough to indicate or sketch it so it's in front of the body. Maybe make it a little bit thicker there, but I will see that in a second. So, like that. And now this time, this leg here is behind the body. And I think it looks okay, I would say. I think this line here is more confusing than it helps. Let me erase that and just bring this part here. Maybe only down like that. And then, or maybe go it over here. I think that's okay. Figure out the fold in a second. And now this one here is behind the body, and of course this one has to be in front. So we're not seeing this part here. That has to be behind. So, and now we mirrored the arm and the legs. And the legs, sometimes it's more easy to do it, sometimes it's more complex. It's a practice thing. And also what's helpful to practice there is in general anatomy. Also, I have to do on my list, you can never practice enough anatomy. But to have a ground understanding, a little bit of anatomy helps when doing these kind of animations, when you have to switch the arm or legs. So you have a little bit of a feeling how the shoulder is moving. Yeah. But of course, anatomy can be so complex and takes so much time to learn. So going every now and then over a couple of anatomy studies or watching some muscles, how they are behaving, I think can help with animation. So, okay. Let's finish this leg here also. Again, we arrived at this foot here that I wasn't so happy about it, and now I have to see it again and I think, oh no, what have I done there? And I also mentioned for years now I'm saying, okay, I want to do feet studies or hand studies, and it's always something that I forget to practice, but I think it could be useful in the future just to get a little bit better in drawing foots, feet, and hands to have a more easy time there. What thing we could do to make these lines here a little bit more clear? And also then what's helping if we block in colors so we can see that this here is clothing, this here is part of the body. But we will do that later, and also to create a little bit more appealing folds here. Also helpful. And also something maybe I'm going to fix that later, that when you're also, Mailand, you're implementing that in your one cycles, if you're sketching a one cycle and your character, for example, let me show it quickly to you, is walking in a direction like that, is walking like that, you can implement a little bit of perspective here. So you have a little bit more perspective in that direction, and then for the other foot you have a little bit perspective in that direction. So this is now super rough and sketch messy, but I hope you get the point that we can see it also here. For example, with the foot we did here, you have a little bit a turtle foot in that direction, even if other things are more to the side. And here the foot is going a little bit backwards. So to have that right, I think I have to check that out later and see if I make a couple of corrections there. But that can also make or bring your animation a little bit more to life, especially in a one cycle. So let's see where we finished off. like that. Let's quickly go over the hands we sketched. Lines are not perfect, but okay for now. So we can now bring 2 back where it belongs. And now we have 2 positions more for the second half of the one cycle. And we're getting closer to finish the one cycle. Cool, let's do the next one. Let's do the next one. Which one we want to do? Let's do this one. So let's keep the order right here. So I will go here. Move it even like that. And go on top of it and also switch here the arms. I think this one will be a little bit tricky, to be honest, to switch the arms there. But let's see in a second. And if you have any question, let me know. If something is confusing. So let's switch it. But it's fun. It's also fun when now creating, we don't see in the reference the second half of the one cycle, because here he's jumping on the island. So it's super fun that it gets a little bit tricky and we have to find out for ourselves how we finish this one cycle. To have that little challenge, and I think also that's amazing practice to find that out. So let's go over it. And I think, let's see, this will be the last one for today, and we're going to continue tomorrow with more concentration then. Because within my time zone, it's already getting late. I'm not sure in which time zone you are. If it's in the morning where you're watching. If it's midday, you're at breakfast. Or if it's also getting a little bit more late. So now we have to switch this shoulder here. Have to be how we're going to sketch it. But this arm here now is in the front. And then also we can go back and forth. Let's see. Maybe place it here like that. I think it looks okay for now. Let's see. Now we have this one here. We have a little bit of closing visible here. Going over here maybe. Maybe flying here to the back. And creative with that. Then the body is visible here. Then we have this part that is now behind this hand. And now here we have this part. Maybe let's make it a little bit more short because it's behind the body. Maybe like that. And now the arm is sticking out here. And a little bit more short. think that looks okay. I think it's even too long. That's why I wanted to do it a little bit more short. Maybe like that. And of course, I think this hand is visible from this side. I think this should be more correct. This is super rough now. We can go over it again then. First, I want to see if the general approach is right. And then we can make corrections. But before losing yourself in details, figure out if we're on the right way. I think it's more helpful. And now this leg here is in the front. But here also we have smears in it, so it's a question if it's even visible in a position like that. The one leg is in front. We have these smears in it. So I won't even say there are lots of things changing here. But I will check in a second if we have make changes here or not. Let's strictly do it like that. And now check. Position here back and this one here and see. And I think it's working. Yeah. Cool. Super fun to see. So what's missing to finish this walk cycle? Let us check. So we have this one is the first one. Then he's going down to the passing position and then arriving here. Then he's moving down again here. Leg to the front, moving here, and then jumping again. So there's only, I think, this one to add. Could also add this one, and then he's getting back there. This would be something to try out. If we leave this one out or also have it in, I think we should also add it. So he's jumping for the first half to that one side and then also to the other side and looking here. He's looking in that direction. So more like that. And now we could also make him look in that direction to finish the one cycle and have a full loop. And then also, if we're happy with it, we could again clean up everything or only the second half and then fill in colors. But I think, yeah, super successful session for today. Was super fun. Cool. Yeah, if you see anything, if you say, oh, that's something to do, make it differently, let me know in the chat. But I think for now, it's a good working stage. And now that we are animating Monkey D. Luffy, I'm also super curious to animate more One Piece characters and see how are they moving differently. And also animating Monkey D. Luffy jumping, where maybe the leg is stretching, could be also super fun and a lot to learn from. Cool. So, before ending the stream, I wanted to jump in a video I haven't watched. I don't even think I have ever watched a video. from it. But maybe let's watch quickly into it and see if we can learn from something from it. Curious to see that. I hope you can hear clearly. So that's the last thing we're going to watch for today. Yeah, I also saw that a lot of tutorials. It's also something I think a lot of people love these movies, but also something that many people click on, like me, for example. It's cool also that he's breaking apart how the 2D animation a little bit from the different layer aspect. I think there are a lot more layers if you would look at the production pipeline or just how the animation is done. But yeah, to simplifying like that is super cool. That's also cool to see. KFC fan is right. I saw the Berserk video from this channel. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I saw also a little bit. They also are using more 3D. So yeah, if you can recommend it, I will also check it out. Oh, that's cool. I know that effect a little bit from graphic design. Okay, he's getting ready for it. Curious to see the results. But that first block out looks super good. These basic shapes just makes so you also want to start painting now. That's also interesting to see. KFC fans, I always animate background and the character on the same level, on the same layer. Oh, that's also interesting. I think it depends on how big the project is. If you have a super long film, to animate everything on same layer could be maybe sometimes then difficult to make changes after you're already in the longer process. But if you maybe for only short things, I think that can be a fun process. Yeah, but it looks super good. But it's so fascinating that he's doing it all by himself. Like imagine 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you needed such... If the software was super expensive, the hardware was super expensive, then there wasn't so many tutorials to learn it. So there's also a lot of changes that smaller creators can do more and more a look that only big budgets could do for years. That's cool to see. Oh, KFC fan is saying, oh, I can't hear the video. Let me check. Can you still hear it? Oh, yeah. For some kind of reason.
To recreate one of his movies
now you should hear it.
from nothing but a computer is probably not something he would like. But maybe I can show that there are benefits to
Yeah,
Aki,
I
the
think
man
now you
behind
should
all the
hear
Ghibli
it.
movies. I believe that the tool of an animator is the pencil. He's famously characters multiple times over
Of course, thanks for letting me know.
multiple frames to create a scene. But in 3D, you only need to create it once and can then use that model for every necessary scene. But the problem with Blender is that it is optimized for realism. So we basically need to trick the program into a more hand-drawn style. For that, we need 3 main ingredients, and the model itself is the foundation for the other 2. Just like the first scene, I started by blocking out her body, then refined it by merging all the individual shapes and adjusted them in scope mode. And for her, the most basic anatomy was enough, since most of it is hidden under clothes anyway. While I was cleaning up the geometry by retopologizing the model, I learned from a few tutorials that the only thing that really matters in non-photorealistic renders is the end result. Very differently to realistic projects, the object's geometry doesn't really matter, which actually gives you a lot more freedom in how to create your project. The second ingredient for non-photorealistic projects is a great example. Just like most anime or comic styles, Spirited Away also has line art. Chihiro's nose, for example, is only really visible because of a few lines. These extra lines give the characters more structure and make it easier to distinguish between the shirt and hair, for example. In Blender, these lines can be automated. Just add a grease pencil object to your scene and give it the line art modifier. Now you can select what you want to outline and voila! It basically adds a line in front of every sharp edge of the object that is visible to the camera. Now the goal is...
It's also super cool, like he's figuring out for himself how to
change
simulate that look, like 2D animated look.
As good as possible. Adding geometry to make them smoother,
but also a lot of work.
To remove unnecessary lines. Nothing matters except for the final look. And after a few more details, there's only one more ingredient left. Most characters consist of 2 colors, the base color and the shadow color. No gradient between the two, just a straight line. And all you really need to create that is a super simple shader setup. And there you go, looks pretty good. But if you want to go even further, you can either adjust the geometry again to create more desirable shadows, or if you really want to optimize the model, tweak the normals of the object.
And there's also even the question, why should you create something in 3D and let it look 100% 2D? I mean, then you could also just do it in 2D. Depends also, of course, on the budget. But I think it's okay that sometimes 3D looks also 3D. And I think, yeah, a lot of animated movies find good solutions there.
Direction it's facing, which is used to calculate the object's shadows, for example. I mainly use that to add some more custom shadows.
So we'll skip here a little bit.
Realize something. Her arms in the original are way too long. The more I tried to trace her movements, the more I noticed how wrong the anatomy actually is. And it's not just the arm.
Yeah, that's also the thing. In 2D animation, you have more distorted proportions just to make it more fit to a scene, to expressing a certain emotion. You're breaking a little bit the proportions.
But obviously, without a 3D model to compare it to, it doesn't feel wrong. The position her arms are in the original actually makes it feel more intimate. I guess if you have to draw all the poses manually, you can also change the anatomy a bit to make them more expressive, or to just make it look better visually.
Looks super strange just looking at it like
Unlike
that.
her body, the shirt needs a few more adjustments.
I will skip a little bit through it. I think the main process is clear.
Plain on his head and last final touch can be fixed as well.
When you want to recreate something like that, I think videos like that for inspiration or just learn from it how certain things are done are super helpful. And then if you want, you could just search on YouTube for specific tutorials how to do one thing you're seeing here.
And the biggest issue of all, the shadows, which still look a little weird in some moments. I even used this opportunity to add some more details into Hiro's hair and Haku's fur, which in the end looked like this.
Yeah, looks cool, but the character, I mean, of course you can't compare it to original, but it's a wonderful experiment.
The good thing is that you only have to create each character once, which saves a lot of time, but it also has that distinct 3D perfection.
Yeah, and all those small, important, small movements, of course, are also missing that are so important to communicate emotions.
That you have to fight against to create something that looks more handmade. I guess you could say the 3D version takes less time and is more accurate, but it lacks a bit of freedom when it comes to how you can express emotions and movement.
Yeah.
I think for this one it's pretty clear which one Miyazaki would prefer, but I have one more technique I want to try.
I think the last one is super great for 3D. They also, KFC fans writing, looks a little bit stiff. I think for characters and close-up shots, 3D is not the best tool yet. And yeah, but that's also beautiful that's a lot of animes are doing it. 2D animation for the characters and the close-up and the animations, and then 3D for the backgrounds.
The original image onto
and
the
these scenes like that are, I think, perfect for 3D. Like and also in Blue Eye Samurai, you can see a lot of those kind of scenes in 3D.
Pretty simple. First, I need the ring model itself, which isn't that hard. It's an actual lamp, really a challenge either.
And when the characters are not moving so much, I think 3D is also something you could use.
There are definitely benefits to using 3D for your 2D animation work, and you can definitely do it better than what I have created in this project, but I think there's always a certain amount of authenticity and expressiveness that you will miss out on, no matter how good you make it.
But it's still impressive how the proportions are looking good. From the dragon, the colors, it still looks cool.
So I might not be able to convince Miyazaki to change his opinion, but maybe that wasn't the best way to approach it anyway. I guess the best use of any given tool is not to try to recreate the style of a different tool, but rather to utilize its strengths to create a look that is inspired by other ways of creating. Imitation can only really get you so far. The best style you can create is still your own style.
I think that's a great point, to use 3D and implement it into your own story you want to tell, and also to use it for backgrounds, and also sometimes you want even that stiffness look. And maybe the story has a weird angle or a weird twist and the character is feeling stiff, so you're also expressing stiffness through the animation you're doing. And Melan is writing, I love 2D animation so much, and that is a great point. Yeah, but it's interesting to watch these different kind of workflows. And yeah, they all can be important. At the end, I think also with AI, at the end, the key thing that it comes down to is the story you're telling. We are all connected to 2D animation because we watch stories we felt connected with, that, we connected to a certain emotion that we can resonate with. And if the story is told in a good way, then you can see how you're using different tools to support that story and to tell your story. And also, if no matter how good in animation looks like. For example, you can have the perfect animation or hyper realistic animation with AI. If the story is not there, I think, yeah, it's not really doing something with us. So that's something, maybe even if AI can be scary sometimes, or there's so many different tools, in the end, storytelling is a key aspect. Why we are watching things, why we get entertained, why we get into the movies. And I think that will always be there. So, cool. Was a great stream. Also, the video now at the end was super nice to watch. And yeah, I think we made good progress from here. Let's quickly compare the rough one to the one where we are now. I feel like the rough one, that's often, if we're animating, has a certain energy to it that sometimes we lose a little bit when we're finalizing it. But I think it's still working great. It looks more clear now. I think in the head, if we would finish it, is the head and how the mouth is looking, how the eyes looking is an important thing. You could, you could work on a little bit more. But for the basic animation, I think it's looking great. 2 drawings we could add also, and then blocking in colors. But it looks like a fun one cycle. Super cool stream. Thank you so much for watching and joining, everyone. Was a super fun stream. Daza in the beginning, KFC fan, thank you for all the questions, for participating. Also, Malin too, was super fun. Hope to see you in one of the next streams. And yeah, I'm live again tomorrow to continue the animation. And if you're missing out a stream, I will upload the highlight on socials. Not every scene. I mean, it's a long stream now, 2 hours and 20 minutes, but couple of highlights where I think, okay, in a short amount of time, I can teach something or have communicate a little bit of value that is worth sharing on my socials. I will do that. And yeah, fun stream. Can't wait to get back again at it tomorrow. And see you in the next stream. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.